Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be having an update on our upcoming pattern. We're watching two different systems. The first system will be tomorrow here, that could produce some severe weather across parts south of. To be a little bit more specific, it could be effect for parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and maybe into parts of northwestern Georgia as well. Some of it could be significant as well. We're also watching another system that be moving in on Saturday. That could have a winter storm threat on the backside of low there for many areas in here, really from the Central Plains to parts of the Midwest into parts of the Great Lakes. In the warm sector, we could see the potential for more severe weather over a pretty large region out there as well. Some of that could be significant as well. Not only that could bring severe winter weather issues, it can also bring some flooding issues across parts of the Ohio Valley as well. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about with Saturday's setup. But we're going to first check out the watch warning map display. And something I've been seeing for a long time on this map is these blue colors here in Utah and Colorado. Those are avalanche warnings. Something I haven't seen in a long time on this map here. For some of the rest of the areas, you got scattered winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings as well. It's still fairly active out there across the west. The Midwest has also been a little bit active as well. We've seen more snow, and we even have a couple pockets of winter storm warnings for parts of Minnesota. And there's also a pocket of winter weather advisories for parts of the Northeast as well. Meanwhile, everywhere else, it's mostly quiet here. Very very frigid temperatures in the parts of Montana and Dakotas and Minnesota. Wind chills will be deep in the negatives up there as well. But boy, things are going to change tomorrow. Let's check into SPC Outlook here. So this is for tonight. We got a marginal risk for parts of southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi. We did have a possible tornado earlier, kind of along the Mississippi and Louisiana border earlier. Doesn't really surprise me that we've seen a tornado, which then again, there's a low end risk out there for a tornado and also a low end risk for high wind as well. But tomorrow things are going to be more active. We have a slight risk for severe weather across parts of eastern Arkansas, northeastern Louisiana, the northern half of Mississippi, Alabama, northwestern Georgia, and most of Tennessee as well. And you do have that marginal risk for some of the adjacent states as well. All hazards will be possible. You do have that threat for tornadoes, damage winds, and there could be some hail out there with some of the storms as well. I'm honestly surprised we do not have an enhanced risk upgrade, but it does not surprise me if we do see that upgrade tomorrow. Day 3, we do have a March risk across parts of the south. Then on day 4, we got slight risk for severe weather for northeastern Texas, really anywhere from the Texas Arcana region up into western Tennessee. And then on day 5, that risk really expands in coverage here. You got, which this includes northeastern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, most of Tennessee, central and northern Mississippi and Alabama, northern Georgia, far southwestern North Carolina, and most of southern Kentucky as well. May have a chance for an upgrade. We'll see of how things do trend here, but that could be another significant severe weather risk in the incoming days as well. So we're going to start off with the European model here, and like I said earlier, we had quite a bit of snow across parts of the Midwest, which you can see there. Do have a round of some heavy snow out there earlier today. That thread will end tonight, and here's our first system here. It's pretty easy to miss, but we'll have a low pressure system to be moving through Arkansas to move up to Kentucky. It will be a weak low pressure system. However, there will be some wind shear and some elevated instability values as well. Let's check on the higher resolution models for that. So we're going to first start off with the HER model here. And this is the latest run here, 1Z. And you can see here for overnight tonight, there could be some thunderstorms out there across Mississippi, parts of Alabama, even up to Tennessee. Now, my main concern here, well, it's not really a concern, but one limiting factor could be that you may have a lot of shower thunderstorms out there in the morning hours. That could help limit the instability values out there. So that could be a possible factor as well, as where you have a lot of showers and thunderstorms, and that can help keep those instability values down. What you do see here into the morning hours tomorrow, there is a pretty decent cluster of thunderstorms in parts of central Mississippi, and those may try to rotate. We'll watch for those storms as well. You can see here how they continue to move on to the north here. And this is where I kind of say it to the point here where there's a lot of widespread activity. And you can kind of tell from this image here, they're not very organized storms. Now, you can may take that as a grain of salt because models don't do a very good job here. But the HERM model has been the most accurate here compared to other models here. But you also do notice here, there's a decent cluster in the Texarkana region as well. And that will continue to move on to the northeast. Let's kind of go back to a run. We'll go back to 0Z. And you can see here, it's a little bit slower with that little cluster here. And that could be a damage wind threat with those storms. But you do have this prefrontal convection line here. And this is where storms are kind of forming along that front there as well. Some of those are the ones we may have to pay attention to as well. As you kind of get into the evening hours at this point, you do have the potential for some supercells across parts of northern Mississippi, parts of eastern Arkansas, and maybe getting to parts of southern Tennessee and northwestern Alabama. There's quite a bit of uncertainty a little further south here. I'm also not been very clear with development down there, but there may be the potential for maybe some discrete cells down here as well, which we'll have to watch for that as well. But it seems like we may be having a better threat here a little further north than from the last video. For the last video, we had it in this region right in here. Well, that's kind of shifted a little further north there. And some of the anomalies as well has been bullseying this region as well. So I think this is a region we have to keep an eye on there. And that's where I do believe we could see that strong tornado threat as well. Which if we do check out significant tornado parameters here, which we have to, yeah, we're actually still at the right time. So you can see here with the significant tornado parameters, they're pretty high a little further south here, but there's not going to be a whole much of a lift mechanism down there for one. But then again, it's still something to watch for now. And there's still some uncertainty a little further south here how development will go. But a little further north here, I do have a better confidence a little further north than again. But it does have the most favorable environment here a little bit further south down here as well. And then again, these values here are likely to be overdone. So taking them off maybe by one or probably two. And I'll still say the reds there is probably where we could see that significant tornado threat potential. And these yellow orange colors, that's where we could probably see that below significant tornado threat potential there if you take it off by 2 points there. So let's check out them updraft helicity swaths here. And this kind of gets to show you where we could see some rotating storms here. And I'm saying could. Okay, we're on the wrong thing here. Swaths. Here we go. So if we go all the way to 12Z, so this is pretty much the end of the SPC Outlook time period. And you can see here, there is a couple of good swaths here a little further north here. But you look further south here, there's not much of any organized storms down there. There is some rotating storms, but they're not very organized. That's the uncertainty I really have here. If we do check out the high-res NAM here, you can see here, it's got most of the thunderstorm development a little further north here, and not so much a little further south. So then again, quite a bit of uncertainty a little bit further south. If you check out the helicity swaths here from the high-res NAM, you can see here it's also a little further north as well. You got a cluster from northern Mississippi up into central and eastern Tennessee. So that's where we could see a corridor of some rotating storms out there as well. Then again, still a decent amount of uncertainty with this up here and how thunderstorm development will go. Let's see here. Let's check out them significant tornado parameters from the high-res NAM. And you can see here, the numbers are not very high here from the high-res NAM. Typically, the numbers here for Iceland are pretty high, but this time here it's actually not very high. So then again, still some uncertainty out there, but the potential is still there for maybe for that strong tornado threat. If we do see a lonely supercell develop in central Mississippi, yeah, that may be the supercell that could have the potential to produce a stronger tornado out there. We'll see if this sounding may load in. I don't think it's going to load in for us tonight, unfortunately. But anyways, here you still kind of get the idea here. Maybe some of the most favorable environment will be Little First South. It's just that we're not sure of how thunderstorm development will go down there Little First South here. But either way, the conditions will be favorable for all hazards. Either way here. Then again, while showing you guys it's just a simulation, it won't go exactly like that, but it could be similar. Keep in mind that it could be similar, but it won't go as exactly of like what it shows. We may have a better idea tomorrow morning, which I may put that update there on my Twitter tomorrow. So then again, it's something we gotta watch very closely here. And here's a HER model here with instability, and this is 3 o'clock. Quite a bit of instability out there, and even going into the overnight hours, there's still a lot of instability out there. But check out the wind shear. This is 11 o'clock. Let's see if this can load. There's a lot of wind shear out there, so definitely no shortage of wind shear and stability. So with that combination of the two, all hazards severe weather will be possible, including a threat for a strong tornado or two. And this is kind of my forecast here. And then again, I think the better opportunity for that stronger tornado threat maybe in northern Mississippi, northwest of Alabama, and for parts of southern Tennessee. But really, anybody that's in the standard slide I think these will be the areas we'll still have to pay attention for that severe weather threat. In the marginal risk, it's a lower end risk, but it's not zero for that potential as well. And then again, for the enhanced risk, it gets tornado driven. I still do believe we could see that significant tornado risk out there as well. But then again, either way, the chance of severe weather will be there for parts of the South tomorrow. So definitely stay weather aware if you do live in those areas as well. Okay, so that's Wednesday out of the way. Let's talk about Saturday systems. So we're back to the European model. So if we check out Saturday system, so we're going to start off with Friday. You got a strong low pressure system in Colorado here. There's a lot of energy out here as well. And 500 millibar, also known as vorticity. And you'll see here, this is 12Z on Saturday here. You already got a possibility for strong severe storms along this boundary here. You can see there, it's not a very organized line either, but the potential is still there for some severe storms down here. You got a broken line of some storms really from western Tennessee down into eastern Texas, and there's a decent amount of instability in those areas and plenty of wind shear as well here. And you also will notice here, this is a positively tilted trough, which may help decrease that tornado threat a little bit, but the potential is still there. We could see some significant severe weather as well. So that's still something we need to keep an eye on as well. But also with positively tilt troughs can lead to some storms training over some of the same areas. Check out that cluster of thunderstorms over the Ohio River, up into parts of Indiana, Kentucky, up into Ohio. Those storms can train over some of the same areas, and that's where you can see that flash flood threat as well. Meanwhile, on the backside of the low, you got a pretty good winter storm back there as well. At this point here, there could be some heavy snow falling in Iowa here. And this winter storm threat could stretch from parts of Nebraska, Kansas, all the way up into the Midwest and the Great Lakes region as well. And it seems like we're having decreasing confidence here that a low pressure system will be developing along the frontier, and also for the snowfall potential as well. It seems to be going down, which doesn't really surprise me at all, to be honest with you. And then again, it still could change here, and I think we can still see a threat here. Some snowflakes here. I think the accumulating snow chance is very slim at this point as well. Let's check out a different model here. This is the Canadian model, You can see here, there goes Wednesday system right there, pretty weak low. But your bigger system here will be right here. And you can see here, the low is a little further south here. So there's some uncertainties here with the placement here of the low pressure system here. And this really affects for people that live in the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, and the Midwest here for three different threats here. This affects the threat potential for the Midwest and the Central Plains here, where the place where the heaviest snow could be, and down the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. This also affects if how far north the severe weather could be and where the flash flood threat would be. So there's some uncertainty of where the low pressure system placement will be, which the KMO shows it going over the Ohio River. It does have that flash flood threat a little bit further south as well. This goes from western Arkansas up into Kentucky and parts of Ohio and West Virginia as well. And you can see there with that heavy snowfall threat is a little further south as well, or I should say that winter storm threat. It works out either way. And even this model here doesn't show really a low developing along that front either. So then again, things like that snowfall threat for the secondary low is decreasing here because things like the secondary one won't become very organized. So you do have a little bit different story here than from yesterday. Here's the icon model, and you can see here it's also very similar to the Canadian model here. It has that low going over the Ohio River. Big time flash flood threat. I mean, check that out. That's a thunderstorms going over some of the same areas. I mean, that would be a significant flash flood threat if that were to verify here. You also do have the heavy snowfall threat. It's not as impressed as the European model and the Canadian model. It's not as widespread with that heavy snowfall threat, but either way from these systems here, there's still going to be that severe weather risk further south here. I don't, no doubt about it. If you got a strong low here over Kentucky, another 96 millibar low, and just the south here, you got an unstable atmosphere with dew point values being in the mid 60s. Guarantee you there's going to be some severe weather down there. So these models here may not show much away of shower thunderstorm development down there. Probably when we get to the higher resolution models, I think that's going to show a different story. I think we're going to see more storms down there as well, especially across parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee as well. And here's the GFS model here now. I think this is a little bit of an outlier here. GFS has been all over the place, so I'm not really following along much with the GFS, which it actually, in the latest run here, some of its past runs here have been having that low pretty far to the south here, more into parts of Tennessee and southeastern Kentucky, which I honestly have to think that's too far south. Looks like it's going back to the original idea here from the European model. Uh, and then again, the GFS has been jumping around as well, so I may take it as a grain of salt here, but at least it's kind of having a better agreement here with the European model. So there's now not as much of absurdity here with this upcoming system. But it does have a big winter storm on the northwest side of it. There could be a lot of snow back there. We also do notice here, big time flash flood threat, really from parts of Arkansas up into parts of Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia. And that even goes through parts of Tennessee as well. Can't forget about those folks as well. And of course, the warm sector will be wide open for some severe weather down there as well. So let's check this out in a little bit more detail. So we're going to check out 500 millibar winds. This is where you can kind of tell where your ridges or troughs will be. And getting into Saturday here, this is what we call a positive tilt trough. A negative tilt trough would be the opposite way. That's what a negative tilt trough would look like. This is going to be more of a positive tilt trough. Now, what concerns me with a positive tilt trough, that's going to really help increase that winter storm threat here. You have a larger band of some snow. But the bad news with this here is also going to increase your flash flood risk as well. You have a not only thunderstorms training over some of the same areas, but it's also going to be a longer band as well. And that kind of goes the same way with the snow as well. So there's kind of good news and bad news with it. But either way, with a positively tilted trough, you can still see some severe weather. It just won't be as significant as a negative tilt trough. But even for a positive tilt trough, we still see some significant severe weather. So honestly, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But either way, with a positive tilt trough or a negative tilt trough, it'll still bring severe weather. Doesn't really matter either way. Um, as we kind of go later in the day on Saturday here, it does try to become, at least tries to anyway, become a little bit more neutrally tilt, but it's still looking to be positively tilt for now, which would be good news for the severe weather risk, though. It'll still be some good news there. Here's the GFS model here. It's also very similar here, positively tilt trough. It's actually a little bit more neutrally tilt here, as you can see there. It's a little bit more neutrally tilt. And the icon model is a similar way here. It's not as positively tilt as the European model, so we'll have to see how trends go with the trough there. That can also really depend on of how significant the severe weather risk could be um, as well. So let's check out that low of a jet here at 850 millibars. So we're going to start early because that severe weather risk could start pretty early here. Could be talking about in the morning, in the morning hours on Saturday. Which if we do check out rain and thunder here, you got some thunderstorms already ongoing out there from eastern Texas up into southwestern Kentucky. And if you check out instability values here, there is some instability out there in the morning hours. So there could be some severe weather already ongoing in the morning hours on Saturday here. And another thing I will say here is that the European model is a little faster with this low as well. If you check out the GFS model here, it's a little bit slower with the system here. And I think that's a little bit more accurate here. European model may be a little too fast, but we'll see of how everything goes here. But if the European model does trend a little bit faster here, that may give less time here for the instability numbers to go up and those dew point values to go far up north as well. If you do check out temperatures here at 5 o'clock here, very mild temperatures out there. From the Gulf Coast all the way up into the Ohio Valley, temperatures are deep in the 60s. Here's the dew points here. It's actually a little bit lower for up north, but it does have the 60 dew point line up as far north as the Tennessee-Kentucky state border. Here's the European model. It goes a little further north, but check out them dew point values going up into the mid-Atlantic as well, getting as far north as New Jersey. Something you don't typically see for this time of year. But going back a little bit further here at 6 a.m., check out these dew point values. I mean, 65 degrees. Something you don't typically see here, and which, from what I've heard in southwestern Kentucky, that could be a challenge there for record high dew point values. And that's what we actually saw from the December 10th tornado outbreak. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go exactly like that, but the conditions could be a little bit similar to that outbreak of what occurred not very long ago as well. The dew point values will certainly be very elevated out there as well. So certainly something interesting here. Here's the icon off with instability values. It's not as impressed here, but I think we'll have a better idea whenever we see the higher resolution models come into range, which I do believe that NAM will come in range tomorrow. Let's kind of go back to the Lovajet. I know I've been a little over the place, but it's starting to remind me in my head, so I apologize. So Geeks here, the GFS model also has a strong Lovajet, which can help increase those wind shear values out there. European model is a little faster, but it's also similar with a pretty strong Lovajet out there um, as well. And like I was saying there with that flash flood threat here, if this is going to load. And here's what I was talking about with that flash flood threat here. Here's the European model. You got a little swath out here of rainfall amounts could be anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain, which could lead to the potential for a little bit of some significant flooding as well. Here's the GFS model here. It's a little further south here, but it does show some high rainfall totals down there as well. Here's the icon model. It does show some pretty high rainfall totals. I mean, that's close to 7 inches of rain in some places. So honestly, it really concerns me whenever we get those high resolution models in. It'll be able to get a little bit more detail with these rainfall amounts. And I'm afraid it could be a little bit higher than what some of these models are showing. So that's still something we really need to watch for. It's for the potential for some significant flooding as well. That's another threat I'm pretty concerned with as well. Let's talk about the snowfall threat and the icon model. Then again, it doesn't show a whole lot of snow out there. But if we check out the European model, it shows quite a bit of snow out there. You got a big swath of anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow. Now this is using the 10-to-1 ratio. To keep in mind that this is the 10-to-1 ratio, not the Kachar ratio. I'll probably show that in the next video. But this kind of gives you an idea of how much snow could fall in some of these areas in here. It could be quite a significant winter storm. And you can see here, GFS ball with the low placement a little further south and east. Those snowfall amounts also move with it as well. And then again, it shows quite a swath of snowfall amounts that could be up to a foot in some places. So a lot of snow can come with this system as well. So that's also something we really need to keep an eye on as well. But certainly the weekend system is certainly going to be a crazy system to watch for sure. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you're gonna like my channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifications in there, miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.